a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, helping you win in any marketplace. That is the goal of our show, making you more informed as a consumer and helping make you more street smart here. We got Jason Mears in the house, Florida Best Quote Insurance. We're going to talk more about the insurance market, condo milestone reports, how those are affecting things, some of the shakeout with the glitch bill that happened a while back, and then also inspections as well coming up here on the show. And we like to feature our listings. Part of our strategy, as you know, my wife Lindsay and I own a top 100 ranked real estate team here in Tampa Bay, and we feature all of our real estate listings live on air as part of a strategy to maximize the exposure, help our sellers sell faster for more money. And this is one of my favorite listings, 5642 Egret's Place, Newport Richey. We have a Mediterranean palace, gorgeous property behind a gated community. So complete privacy here. 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, 3,000 square foot, quarter-acre property. Beautiful heated pool with a waterfall, elevator in the property, in the home, and just a gorgeous layout. Beautiful home here. Pavers around the pool as well. Upgraded stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, wood cabinets, private patio, breathtaking views of the canal leading out to the Gulf of Mexico as well. Gourmet kitchen, center island feature, sink and a wine refrigerator. 5642 Egret's Place, Newport Richey, one of our beautiful real estate listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And we have a Gulf front, beachfront property for sale, 18522 Gulf Boulevard, Unit F. This one's in Indian Shores. This is right on the beach, 3 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,000 square feet, beach condo in Indian Shores. A great opportunity to own real estate. You have updated throughout as well. Granite countertops, mosaic backsplash. What I love about this property, only $250 a month as far as your condo fee, and you can short-term rent this property out as well. 18522 Gulf Boulevard, Unit F, Indian Shores, and you can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Yeah, I'm racing my class to those saving our ass overseas.
And I want to invite you, our audience, and our listeners and viewers of our YouTube channel and, of course, Amazon, Apple TV, Roku, however you consume the show. Maybe you're listening on our podcast. We want to invite you to our third Thursday event. The next Thursday is going to be April 18th, 6 o'clock over at Brio Tuscan Grill, the official restaurant partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Brio Tuscan Grill, excellent food, wonderful staff, excellent ambiance, just a really fun environment there. And we had a great turnout. We had several of our show partners, listeners, that is. We had a handful of different expert contributors for the show, a dozen plus folks out there hanging out with us. It's a great time to fellowship, enjoy each other's company, and talk about business and sharing referrals, and talk about all kinds of stuff related to real estate and credit and finance, estate planning, tax planning, self-defense. So many different ways we help you here as a consumer advocate. So come on out, save the date, Thursday, April 18th. Go ahead and mark that in your calendar, 6 o'clock. We're going to provide food, and you have a cash bar there as well. Brio Tuscan Grill, they have some excellent food, and those flatbreads are very popular as well over there. So save the date, come on out and see us, and spend some time together, and we greatly appreciate you doing that. Okay, Jason Mears, Florida Best Quote Insurance. Welcome back in, sir.
Always a pleasure, man. Love coming in.
Absolutely. My pleasure as well. And Florida Best Quote Insurance, we talk a lot about, the changing market. There's always changes happening in the real estate industry. Insurance has been one of the big ones. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah. Just in general, everyone is seeing an increase in insurance costs across the board, whether it's home insurance, condo insurance, flood insurance, life insurance, health insurance. Everybody's seeing increases in that. Which I know has been tough. You combine that with inflation, and it's been hard for a lot of people. I think the good thing, just briefly, about the home insurance industry, I think we're going to see some relief here in the next year to 2 years, maybe a year and a half. That's what we're hearing from some of these lobbying companies that represent the home insurance industry here in the state. What they're telling the legislature, maybe a year and a half, we'll start to see some leveling off. So it's going to be another tough year and a half. I think that's one of the advantages we have to try to we write with a lot of companies, almost 50, so we can try to help people save money on their home insurance. But condo insurance is really where I feel like we're seeing a lot of problems right now and a lot of fear. And so I think that's probably the main thing I would like to talk about today is just for the people that are out there that are either in a condo, thinking about buying a condo, thinking about selling a condo. I think that's probably where the most fear is right now, and there's some things that I'd like for them to be aware of.
Yeah, condos are kind of a situation where you've got several things to look at, several factors. Not only just the age of the property, the deferred maintenance. You've got to look at the board. How good is your board? Are they operating the property in a a responsible manner, putting reserves back? There's a lot of considerations when it comes to condos, and Jason Mears here in studio, he's the expert on this. Florida Best Quote Insurance here in Tampa Bay. We want you shopping local, working local here. Jason Mears, tell us about it.
Yeah, so, we're all aware, most of us were aware, we had a tragedy, a couple of years ago in the Miami area, in the Surfside community, where we had a condo collapse. Close to 100 people died in that. And as a result of that, the state legislature had to do something, right? They were going to have to make some sort of adjustment, pass some sort of legislation, because this just can't happen again, is their response to that. So, unfortunately, what they did, good or bad, they basically introduced a bill on a Wednesday. By that Sunday, they had 80 amendments added to it, and by the following Wednesday, they had passed the bill.
Wow.
So all that happened within a week. So if you ever say that legislature runs too slow, well, have a tragedy. They can do something pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's Florida. You're talking about the Florida House.
Florida, yes.
I got a clip here about the big bill that just passed last week. 1,112 pages of an omnibus bill talking about the federal government. But that's a little off topic. We'll stick on this topic now. But yeah, they jam these things through.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, who read it? What's in it?
Well, anytime you have 80 amendments to an initial bill, so that says something, right? And then you're voting on it and passing it. All of this happened within a week, from Wednesday to Wednesday.
Wow.
So they realized over a little period of time that there are some changes we need to make. So last June, they introduced Senate Bill 154, which is lovingly called the glitch bill. That is actually what they call it. And it was passed to try to correct some of these mistakes or some of the things they had not considered. They eliminated distance to the coast being an impact. So just real briefly, what this legislation was all about is we need to inspect condos across the state of Florida to make sure this doesn't happen again. So the numbers that they came out with were if you're 30 years or older, 3 stories or higher, and you're 3 miles or less from the coast. That was the initial bill. The glitch bill eliminated the distance clause. So basically, every condo in the state of Florida that's 30 years older, 30 years or older, 3 stories or higher is getting what's called a milestone inspection and a structural integrity reserve study done. So basically, distance was eliminated, and they finally figured out we don't have enough architects and engineers in the state of Florida to get all of these done by the end of 2024. And that was what they were trying to do. By the end of 2024, tens of thousands of condo associations are all going to have to go through these inspections. Not going to happen. Wow. So they allowed certain inspection companies now to jump into the plan, right? And so there are inspection companies doing these milestone inspections that are being overseen by architects and engineers. That's a whole other story about how effective that is, but that's what they're doing as of right now. So you might be in a situation where if you're looking to buy, you better know whether the milestone inspection's being done, has been done, what are the results of it. We recently heard of a local condo association. They did the milestone report, and there are $30 to $45 million in repairs that are anticipated that are going to need to be done. So who's going to pay for that? That's where these assessments are going to come in, and the current owners are going to have to pony up some massive amounts of money to make repairs to their buildings. And so that's what our fear is right now, is how is this going to impact the current market, especially the 55 and older community? How does this impact them? So
yeah, if you don't have an extra, multiple thousands of dollars laying around, in that case, I mean, 30 to 40 million, I don't know how many units that was, but
exactly.
Even if that's 500 units, I mean, spread out, that's still, a huge chunk of money to come up with. I don't see how that's going to work out. There's going to have to be some subsidizing or some rethinking or another quote on the repairs or something. It'll be interesting.
Right. Well, and that's been kind of the thing, right? So we just had a legislative session that I think expired March the 7th, if I'm not mistaken. And there was some anticipation that, I mean, there were a lot of bills that were proposed, but nothing major that was passed related to condo reform. And so, which puts us in a situation where, and it is, whether this has something to do with it or not, it is an election year. We are likely not going to see anything major happen until after the election, I would anticipate. Could be wrong, but that's what I would anticipate. But one of the expectations has been there's got to be, or we would hope there'd be some sort of carve out or some sort of, if you want to call it a subsidy, something. The state of Florida is not going to eliminate or greatly hinder the 55 and older community, right? I mean, we're built a lot on that.
Block.
Exactly. And that, it's an election year, so you can read the tea leaves there. So I'm with you. So what is this community? If you've got up to $45 million of repairs, right, that have to be done, who's going to pay for them? You're going to start seeing for sale signs all over that place, right? And so that's, I think, our fear a little bit is what's going to happen in that community. But my main goal in talking about this is just for people to be aware. If you're living in a community that's 30 years or older and 3 stories or higher, you need to know what's going on in your own community and what that milestone report is going to bring up and when is it going to be done. And you've got to be notified of all that. And your association will. They're required to. Yeah. But that structural integrity reserve study also that's being required is, what kind of reserves, and you brought this up earlier, how well has that association been running? A lot of these associations are not keeping the necessary reserves in place to be able to fix the common areas if something were to happen.
Right.
And so that's part of this legislation as well, is those condos are getting that structural integrity reserve studies done to see how much money they actually have in reserves.
Right.
If they don't have enough, guess who's going to be paying for those? That reserve money has to be funded, and it's going to be the buyers or the owners as well. So lots to understand and to know that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, especially, man, if you're buying a condo, you've got to make sure you have a great realtor, a great insurance team.
Exactly.
People that understand the new laws that are being rolled out and the situation, the impacts of these different considerations. Major decision there if you're thinking about buying a condo.
Yeah, and it's a big plus for people like you that are realtors, the necessary of having a great realtor, a great mortgage company that knows what they're doing, because they're the ones in a lot of situations, they're going to be wanting those 6 months of minutes from the association. They're wanting the financials and everything. So all that information's got to be collected and disclosed, and people have to know what they're doing. So having an experienced realtor, having an experienced mortgage company, and an insurance company that you can trust are very important.
Yep. Warrantable, non-warrantable, all those different questions of condos. We're taking a quick break there. Coming back more with Jason Mears here in studio with us. Florida Best Quote Insurance, talking about the Florida real estate market, Tampa Bay real estate market. And here's an interesting conversation as well. FDIC proposes stricter merger rules. We'll discuss that as well coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Follow us online. We'd love to connect with you at Brandon Rhymes1 at CQB Show. Got the YouTube video podcast there, the podcast as well on iTunes, and of course on Rumble. So we'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
I want to give a special thanks to Satellite Phone Store. They just hooked me up with this beautiful satellite phone. and it's a gorgeous phone. It's a great device. It's a safety device as well. Think about it. If you're out on the boat 40, 50 miles out, maybe you're going hunting or you're going hiking in the woods somewhere, you run out of cell phone service, or who knows, maybe a possible terrorist attack. It's not like our politicians aren't entrenched in all this stuff going on overseas, all over the place, all over the world. Could be a terrorist attack. They could attack the power grid. They could attack the cell phones. Who knows what they're going to attack next. Sat123.com/REQB. Sat for satellite. Sat123.com/REQB, like real estate quarterback.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. In studio here with Jason Mears, our insurance expert contributor, Florida Best Quote Insurance on the Consumer Quarterback Show. A couple of hot listings here for this segment. 6401 Drexel Drive, G4. Unit G4, Port Richey, Florida. This one's 2-bedroom, 1 bath. You have a 2-space carport, 894 square foot villa style condo, all new waterproof flooring, fresh paint, ability to rent right away, so there's no waiting period on the rental. Enclosed porch, pets are welcome, and it is a non-age restricted community. 6401 Drexel Drive, unit number G4, and that is Port Richey, Florida. And a beautiful property. Love that property there. And we also have another listing here at 0 Cypress Drive, Palm Harbor. This is vacant land. I want to remind you, we do vacant land. We sell vacant land, commercial and residential properties. And this one's beautiful, right on Lake Tarpon, Palm Harbor, Florida. Cypress Drive, Palm Harbor. And you can build your dream home on this lot. Approximately 50 feet of linear frontage. Build a personalized waterfront retreat, non-HOA neighborhood. So ideal for boating, fishing, water skiing. 30-minute drive to TIA. And close to Honeymoon Island and the beaches as well. 0 Cypress Drive, Palm Harbor. You can see all of our listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. Check out PlatinumCoastalElite.com. All right, so this is kind of interesting. I saw this pop up on my feed as well. Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation is proposing to increase its review of mergers that could create a bank with more than $100 billion in assets. The move, the FDIC's first update to its merger guidance in 16 years, is aimed at maintaining the stability of the banking sector. It's also the first time the size of a bank from a merger will determine whether additional scrutiny from the FDIC will be required. The new guidelines follow a turbulent period for New York Community Bank Corp in January, when it announced a surprise loss and slashed its dividend after acquiring the failed Signature Bank last year. All right, so yeah, interesting. When it comes to mergers, is like, I want to make sure we're not minimizing. When you look at the consumer, when you look at the consumer and you look at these big corporations merging together, whenever you have this merger and these companies coming together, it creates this too big to fail mindset. And then you have the situation where the consumers are going to lose out. The more of the what's the term I'm looking for? Consolidation in any sector. So it's not good in any sector. We want more choice. In other words, we want more choices as consumers. And if you look at the banking industry, there's been a lot of consolidation, a lot of the big fish eating the small fish over the years, Silicon Valley banks, things like that happening. So that's where I think, that FDIC stricter merger rules, may be a good thing. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I think we saw, I agree with what you're saying about competition. We saw this in the home insurance industry, right? Years ago, it was citizens or bust, almost.
Yeah.
And then we had all these companies come from out of state and wrote business here in the state of Florida. We're sitting with almost 50 home insurance companies that we write with. That's good for the consumer, and that's good for everybody.
Exactly.
Now, a lot of those industries have lost money, and as a result of that, they've gotten stricter. Some of them have left the state. And Citizens has become a bigger player as a result. But competition is good for the market in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's an interesting story. So this is straight out of Florida Realtor magazine, but you wouldn't think to see this, but I guess today's day and age, hey, you got to look at it. But money laundering and corruption, your guide to spotting issues. Real estate transactions are attractive targets for money laundering. Here's how to spot some of the red flags. So it talks about, this in this quick article, trying to summarize it in the last few minutes we have here. But it talks about, here are some guidelines: customer risk, location of a property in relation to the buyer. So I guess, if the buyer is far away, then the location of the property. Is there a large unexplained geographic distance between the two? Okay. Unusual involvement of third parties. Well, who's the third party involved, right? You got to kind of scrutinize that. Let's see. A residential property in the name of titling a residential property in the name of a third party. So you look at ownership. They're going to try to track the ownership. For example, a friend, a relative, business associate, or a lawyer. Use of legal activities, corporations, LLCs, that obscure the identity of the person who owns or controls them without legitimate business explanation. Involvement of high-ranking foreign political officials or their family members. So that's kind of interesting too, right? It's like, oh, what's the prince of so-and-so or the prime minister of this on it? Location of the buyer. It's important to know the location of the buyer to determine whether the buyer resides in a jurisdiction that is the Office of Foreign Assets Control. So it's kind of an interesting when you think about that, money laundering and, especially with this wide open southern border, we got everybody, pouring across the border. There's not much scrutiny going on with these people as well.
Well, it's sad that in every industry, it feels like that fraud or fraudulent behavior just has a way of seeping into just about everything. We've seen that in the insurance industry. Look at the auto insurance industry. You have groups out there, their full-time job is to stage accidents. You see it in the health insurance industry where people are trying to take advantage of that by faking injuries, right? And part of that goes into the auto insurance industry as well. We've seen that in the home insurance industry. That's why the home insurance industry primarily is in the state that it's in now, because of all the roofing fraud that's gone out there. And you've got a lot of fraudulent, deceiving or deceptive roofing companies that have given a lot of great roofing companies a bad name as an industry because of, and they've partnered with legal teams to try to get, fraudulent roofs replaced that should have been replaced by the owners. It's kind of, my mentality of it has kind of been, it's just a mentality that needs to change in the state of Florida related to insurance. Like, if you have a car and you've had it for a while and your tires wear out, you don't look to the insurance company to replace your tires.
Right.
They've worn out. But that's the mentality a lot of people have been fed about their roofs. Hey, your roof is worn out. Let's say it's from a storm.
Right.
But we don't know what storm it was, and we can work with this legal team over here, and we can get you a free roof.
Yeah.
So it's just a mentality that has led to the home insurance industry losing billions of dollars every year over the last 4 years. And the result of that is we've seen rates go up and everything else. So it's just sad, based on the article you're reading, it's just sad that fraud is such a part of so much of the industries that we work in.
Yeah, so much society. And I think the mindset is, as you mentioned, it's, hey, these are big companies. It's not that big of a deal. But, multiple thousands of these happening over time, it's affecting the industry and the sector. And now everybody's going to get hurt from it.
Yeah. We've had, I know over the last several years, we've had several individual home insurance companies each. And I guess I can name who they were. I know Progressive and Universal were two of the companies that in 1 year lost $250 million in the state of Florida.
Wow.
So the way I look at that is you can look at one side, the poor insurance companies. But I look at it as if you've got if you're a small business and you're losing money, you're going to make changes.
Right.
And so a lot of them have jacked up the rates, got stricter with roof guidelines, or they've left the state of Florida. So that's been the result of that.
And there's also the undertones of BlackRock there, too, which is, we don't have enough time to go into that now. We've talked about it on previous shows. But Jason Mears, Florida Best Quote Insurance, how do you want people to connect with you?
They can email me at jason@floridabestquote.com. They can call me at 813-385-4441, or they can get me on social media at my handle, which is Florida Insurance Tips.
Florida Insurance Tips. Florida Best Quote Insurance, Jason Mears. Thanks for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
All right, coming back, we're going to talk with the loan arranger, Bruce Woodburn, here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Cross Country Mortgage, going to get an update with him coming up on the show. And thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check us out online at consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you've been listening to the phenomenal Brandon Rhymes, the Consumer Quarterback Show.